Why Socrates hated democracy? Modern society has been established on democratic ideals where every person has a say in the government through a vote that determines the ruling party. The idea of Western democracy comes from ancient Greek democracy practiced in the times of Socrates. However, Socrates was not much of a fan. In fact, one could argue that he even hated the system of governance. Socrates thought that government should be run by those with specialized knowledge and well-developed reasoning skills. In Book 6 of the Republic, Plato describes Socrates falling into conversation with a character called the Demantus and trying to get him to see the flaws of democracy by comparing a society to a ship. If you're heading out on a journey by sea, asks Socrates, who would you ideally want to decide who oversaw the vessel? Just anyone, or people educated in the rules and demands of seafaring? The latter, of course, said Adimantus. So why then, responds Socrates, do we keep thinking that any old person should be fit to judge who should be a ruler of a country?
They decide to choose their captain by voting. If there is democracy, then everyone on the ship will get to vote, even the ones who know nothing about sailing. Votes of these ignorant people can lead to wrong person being chosen as captain and failing to complete the journey, killing everyone on board. The journey can be completed only if the ones who know about sailing has the right to vote. Apart from that, bad captains who nominate themselves can fool ignorant people using rhetoric's demagogy and get them to vote for himself. According to Socrates, voting in an election is a skill, not a random intuition. And like any skill, it needs to be taught systematically to people. Letting the citizenry vote without an education is as irresponsible as putting them in charge of a trireme sailing to Samos in a storm.
Socrates wants us to think rationally before we vote in an election, and by thinking rationally, he meant to read about the candidate you will vote for, her history, background, education, literally everything. Only then you'd be able to vote for the right ones. That idea of Socrates wasn't favorable for some corrupt leaders because then, how would they fool the person if the fool becomes wise? He asks us to imagine an election debate between two candidates. One who was like a doctor and the other who was like a sweet shop owner. The sweet shop owner would say of his rival, "Look, this person here has worked many evils on you. He hurts you, gives you bitter potions, and tells you not to eat and drink whatever you like. He'll never serve you feast of many varied pleasant things like a will." Socrates asks us to consider the audience response. Do you think the doctor would be able to reply effectively? The true answer, I cause you trouble and go against your desires in order to help you, would cause an uproar among the voters, don't you think? We have forgotten all about Socrates' salient warnings against democracy. We have preferred to think of democracy as an ambiguous good rather than a process that is only ever effective as the education system that surrounds it. As a result, we have elected many sweet shop owners and a very few doctors.
Just like now, democracy having a big effect in our daily lives. This country, Philippines, is a democratic country, which people have the power to participate in decision making. Like what Socrates warned us, democracy, and now it is affecting the whole country. Like in our situation here in the Philippines, it is causing so much trouble that sometimes we are reckless for who we vote for. Some are deserving and some are not. We don't base on their education, history, or background. Thus, we rely on their popularity. Even if we don't know his or her history, we still vote them.
The democracy was favorable for rich politicians because anything they want can be easily get. Nowadays, bribing is the easiest way for a politician to get a vote. Lack of wisdom really has a big impact in our society, not only in their lives but also in choosing a leader. You give them money, they receive it, and they will vote you.
They never really plan to defeat poverty and promote education. Just like what Socrates said, how will they fool the person if the fool becomes wise? Instead, they will just continue to use the poor and the ignorant. In that case, they will win so easily. Also, they only remember the people during the election, and when it ends, they simply forget them. Because of this, many of them are causing trouble and shame for themselves. The situation during COVID-19 pandemic became a wake-up call for everybody to choose for the right leaders. There is a lack of response to these situations, which makes some healthcare workers collapse and fully occupy the healthcare facilities.